Welcome to this Aconite online presentation. This session is aimed at card issuers who are about to embark on an EMV migration program. But if your program has already commenced, or you've even issued some cards, there may still be some valuable lessons for you in this presentation. After a brief introduction to Aconite, we'll look at the importance of business planning to the success of your overall program. We'll look at the differences between issuing EMV cards and magnetic stripe cards, and at some of the features of EMV cards. We'll look at EMV transaction processing and some of the options that you have there for implementing your program. And we'll stress the importance of continuing to plan for the future. Finally, we'll look at the impact of contactless and mobile payments on your overall card strategy. Aconite was established over 10 years ago as an EMV consulting company. Our consultants have assisted many companies both in the UK and around the world with their EMV migration programs, and we have a track record of many successful EMV implementations to look back on. Aconite used its EMV experience to develop software products to assist EMV issuers, and since 2005 Aconite has been selling enterprise software products for card lifecycle management and EMV transaction processing. Aconite is based in London but has representation in both North America and Asia. Aconite was one of the first companies to gain accreditation from MasterCard for advising their members on EMV implementation. And Aconite works closely with Visa as a partner and a customer on new product development. Illustrating Aconite's preeminence in the world of EMV, Aconite software products have twice been awarded the most innovative software product by the European Payment Consulting Association. Aconite's customer base extends across the world and contains many of the best-known names in the cards business and a significant number of blue-chip Tier 1 card issuing banks. There's roughly a 50-50 split in the list that you see here between software customers and consulting customers. Whether you've already issued your first round of EMV cards or are still at the planning stage, you have options for your initial and subsequent migration phases. In determining a strategy for moving to EMV, you need to consider how to minimize your costs while planning to leverage EMV for maximum returns. That means developing a strategy for more than the short term and looking to the experience of other issuers and markets to identify both good and bad practices. The most important message from this presentation is that moving to EMV is not simply a compliance requirement imposed by the card schemes. EMV gives your business opportunities to differentiate yourself in the card market with new products and the management of those products. Of course, there are technical challenges to meet and options for how those are addressed, but the objective of the strategic planning that should precede and evolve with your EMV migration should be to exploit EMV to generate incremental revenue. The key areas in which you have options are in your approach to, firstly, card issuing and secondly, transaction processing. In each of these areas there are a number of alternatives. Which one is right for you at any given stage in your EMV program depends on your circumstances and your aspirations. These options come down to whether you outsource or insource your technical capability, and at what point could it become a better option to migrate from one position to the other, or indeed to stay with the current solution. But these options need to be considered as part of an overall strategic plan that you should start out with and revisit as your program progresses. Let's start with a few basic lessons in chip card issuing. EMV cards have everything that a magnetic stripe card has, with of course the addition of a chip. And what is a chip? It's a microprocessor that can store and process data and can accept inputs and create outputs. Within that chip are the EMV application, the program that runs when a transaction takes place, the data that the application needs to operate, such as card number and expiry date, settings that control what the card can do, the types of transactions it can perform, for example, and parameters that control how the card behaves when it's used. The chip also contains security keys and certificates that are used for cryptographic authentication, data integrity, and confidentiality. EMV applications are fairly simple programs and perform a small number of steps, around 8 or 10, during a chip transaction. Contrary to some assumptions, there's no difference between credit and debit in terms of what the EMV application does when the card is used in a point of sale or ATM. It's how that transaction is dealt with in the back office that differentiates the products. But all card schemes have made modifications and extensions to the EMV standards to introduce proprietary features. For example, these may determine the way the card deals with foreign currency transactions. The critical stage of issuing an EMV card is therefore the preparation of the EMV application data and the security data that will be written into the chip when the card is created or personalized. Usually all cards issued for a certain product type, such as Visa Platinum, will be identical. Their basic settings and parameters will all be the same when the cards are issued. However, the card settings, the primary account number for example, and the security data will be different because of course these are unique to each card. The first choice to be made, therefore, in your card strategy is whether to outsource EMV data preparation to a third-party facility such as a card bureau. If your chosen bureau, and you may already be using this bureau for magnetic stripe card production, has EMV data prep capability, then your startup time is likely to be shorter. But you need to go into this with your eyes open. If not, you risk being docked into a long-term exclusive contract, particularly if you delegate all the key management functions needed by EMV to the Bureau as well. That could constrain your options for the future and your ability to make changes in your setup when volumes increase or when you want to introduce new products. Something that's a hot topic at the moment with many issuers is instant card issuance. So where does this fit into the EMV personalization story? The data preparation requirements are the same, but of course the delivery channel is different. It's technically not hard to support instant issuance, but your controls need to be more stringent, and because it's on demand or almost on demand, your card and account management processes may need to change to work in this manner, as opposed to the overnight batch processing that's common today. So what are the features of EMV that you could be looking to exploit to differentiate yourself from the competition? The first is risk management. EMV comes with a series of risk management processes built right into the application and controlled by those parameters that we mentioned earlier. This allows an issuer to delegate a part of their risk management policy from their host system down to the card itself. During a transaction, the card can make decisions that ultimately may decline a transaction outright, or may force a transaction to be processed online. This feature is provided to support the ability to authorize transactions offline without contacting the host for authorization. And while offline authorization may not be supported in the current card processing environment, this is going to be increasingly important as EMV cards roll out and start to be used in situations where online authorization is either not possible or not economic. Examples of these situations include transportation, road tolling, and vending. It may not be possible to perform an online authorization due to time constraints or connectivity constraints. And as card usage increases and starts to substitute cash for low-value payments, authorization will be a significant factor in whether those transactions are profitable or not. The trend, therefore, should be towards a proportion of offline authorized transactions. Another key differentiator of chip cards is their ability to run multiple applications, so EMV payments can be combined with other apps that work alongside the payment, such as loyalty, or increase cardholder utility, such as access and ID. The point of this ability is to make the card more useful to the cardholder, for which they may pay a premium, and to increase the chance of your card being top of wallet. As an issuer, you have the opportunity to form partnerships with other application providers to host their applications on your cards, for which they may also pay for the rental of that space. As an example, Aconite implemented a dual application EMV and loyalty card for a major Asian bank that had formed a joint venture with a large retail group. Whenever the card was used in stores owned by the retail group, extra loyalty points could be earned and stored securely in the card, and later redeemed instantly during another purchase. Of course, to achieve this, the terminal where that card is used has to be able to interact with those other applications, for which some custom software in the terminal may be needed. In the multi-application world, we also have the concept of post-issuance, where apps, or the data they contain, can be updated during the card's lifecycle. Apps can be added, upgraded, or deleted at suitable service points, although you don't want to do this in the line at a supermarket checkout on a busy Saturday. This ability allows you to tailor the card for each cardholder's particular needs by offering them a range of additional applications. We work with a large bank in Asia where, in addition to payment, cardholders can download and install a range of over 20 different applications, from driver's licenses to healthcare entitlement to library access. However, most card bureaus are not yet able to offer these sophisticated services, so there is a window of opportunity for issuers to really differentiate themselves from their competition by acquiring this capability in-house. So to summarize the decisioning factors on whether to outsource data preparation, specifically to a card bureau, or to procure the capability in-house, you need to consider the impacts. For outsourcing, the initial cost may be lower than acquiring your own data preparation solution, but your flexibility will be reduced, as will your control over costs and service levels. The longer you're in there, the harder it becomes to change. Your ability to innovate may be compromised, and you may also have to hand over control of your EMV keys to the bureau. Does this fit with your corporate security policy? Do you have a corporate security policy? With EMV being so heavily based on security assets, you need to ensure that security is properly taken care of within your organization. So let your short, medium and long-term strategies for card issuing and product development guide your choices on whether to outsource initially or on a medium to long-term basis, or whether there's a case for immediately implementing data preparation in-house, perhaps at an entry level, and then upgrading and expanding to more sophisticated solutions as you grow. Transaction processing is the other key area in which there's an outsource or in-source decision to be made. Again, your decisions need to be driven by your strategic business plan. If you currently outsource transaction processing to a third party, then a simple EMV migration of your existing products is unlikely to justify bringing the entire operation in-house. Projecting forward a few years may lead you to a position where it would make economic sense to acquire transaction processing capability, particularly if you plan to leverage some of the advanced features of EMV in your future product developments. If you're already processing in-house, then you have more decisions to make. Upgrade your existing platform with the vendor's EMV solution. That has its own complications, such as having to retrofit and retest all the customizations that you have invested in over the years. You may not even have that option if your existing platform cannot be upgraded for whatever reason, in which case you could move to a new platform or acquire a third-party plug-in solution to give you instant EMV capability. These types of solutions can be very powerful and cost-effective. Let's look at the authorization processing that's needed for EMV transactions. For a magnetic stripe transaction, the authorization processing is relatively simple. You check the card status. Is it hot? Has the card expired? Is the CVV valid or has the card been faked? And are there sufficient funds in the account to approve the transaction? EMV authorization is a little more complex. The minimum additional step is to check a digital signature or cryptogram that is delivered in the authorization message, along with a bunch of extra EMV data. The cryptogram verifies the authenticity of the card, validates that critical data in the card has not been changed, and ensures that the transaction data, such as the amount, are correct. But EMV allows much more to be done. There are a number of advanced features built into EMV that give the issuer powerful control over risk and customer service. The first of these is EMV scripting, which is the ability for the issuer to send back commands with an authorization response to update settings and parameters in the card. For example, scripting supports the blocking of lost or stolen cards that appear online. Scripting is also used to manage an offline PIN, to change a PIN or to unblock a PIN. And scripting can alter the way a card behaves during a transaction. For example, what factors will force the transaction to go online for authorization. Scripts can be triggered from a variety of sources, depending upon the capability of your scripting solution. External systems can trigger scripts based, for example, on a risk score. Scripts can be triggered manually, although this can be quite onerous on back-office staff where volumes are high, or scripts can be triggered automatically during the authorization process based on an analysis of the data received in authorization messages. Scripts can also be triggered in advance by an external process and stored until the card next comes online. Scripting is such a fundamental part of the basic EMV proposition that great steps have been taken to ensure authenticity, integrity and confidentiality of any data they contain, such as a new PIN. Because they are protected by secret keys known only to the card and to the issuer, they can only be generated by the issuer or by the issuer's processor. You need to be aware that the EMV processing services that card schemes offer within their networks do not support any script processing. So if your product strategy calls for scripting, these on behalf of services should be ruled out. When a script is sent in an authorization response message, it cannot be intercepted by the terminal and it must be applied immediately after the financial part of the transaction has been completed. Any terminal that fails to do this will not pass EMV type approval. Confirmation of whether the script was successfully applied or not is delivered to the issuer in the clearing message for that transaction, if there is one, or in the next online authorization message. If your scripting solution is sufficiently sophisticated, it can resend or reschedule a script where a failure is detected. However, script failures are extremely rare. With advanced scripting, you gain the ability to micromanage the card base, fine-tuning the risk parameters and other settings to achieve optimum performance and to minimize offline risk, to the extent that each card could become unique in the combinations of settings and parameters that it contains. Of course, in your card lifecycle management system, you want to keep a record of all the updates that have been applied to each card, so that when it comes time to reissue, you can create an image of the card as it last was, not when it was originally issued. Another important feature is the ability to analyze the EMV data that is delivered in an authorization message. Flags indicate the outcome of all the choices and tests that were applied by the terminal and the card before the transaction was sent online. And an analysis of these results can indicate an increased risk if, for example, some security check has failed. If your authorization process can detect and act on these indicators, then the response code for that authorization could be modified and an EMV script could be generated to change the card's behavior. For example, forcing all transactions online and banning offline transactions until things return to normal. The final area we're going to cover today is the integration of EMV authorization processing with risk management. Some of us will be familiar with products such as Falcon and PRM that analyze each transaction against behavioral data and account performance and then assign a risk score. The score reflects the risk profile of that particular transaction and of the cardholder or the account in general. It is possible to link these risk management systems with an EMV scripting solution so that a change in a cardholder's risk profile will result in the automatic generation of one or more EMV scripts to change the EMV parameters in the card and so alter its behavior in subsequent transactions, or even to take an extreme measure such as blocking the card, and of course to reverse these measures when the risk score returns to normal. We hope the message is coming across that in Aconite's experience, planning based on business strategy is the fundamental key to successful EMV migration. Having a medium to long-term plan allows modeling techniques to be used to project when critical thresholds for numbers of transactions, for example, will be crossed, and for authorization processing setups to be changed as a result, perhaps moving from a basic outsourced service to a more sophisticated in-house capability. Similar models can be developed that analyze other metrics, such as numbers of cards, numbers of applications issued on multi-application cards, and even how your business may migrate to mobile phones in the future. These trends can be used to inform decisions on when to change or to procure new capability in your systems, whether outsourced or insourced, in areas such as scripting, data preparation, key management, post-issuance updates, and the ability to issue mobile payment applications to your customers. This is a simple example of the changes that a card issuer may experience over time or as their migration to EMV cards progresses. Initially, both card issuing and EMV authorization may be outsourced to third parties, in this case to a bureau for cards and to the card scheme for authorization processing. But as volumes increase, so do the costs on a per card or per transaction basis. In addition, the fact that the issuer does not control their own EMV keys means that they cannot introduce EMV scripting. So there comes a tipping point when the route that made EMV issuing and processing easier in the short term becomes a business constraint and a source of avoidable costs. At that point, the decision to bring data preparation and key management in-house and to upgrade the in-house authorization system to EMV capability is justified by the savings that will be achieved, as well as providing the ability to be more innovative in future product design. We cannot emphasize too strongly that starting out with a business plan that can be revised and updated as your chip experience grows and as your competitors start to influence your customers' aspirations is essential. Part of that planning needs to encompass where your business is going with new products and services. Areas that are hot right now include contactless cards and the move to mobile payments. So before we wrap up, let's look at the impacts of contactless and mobile on your card issuing program. The major impact of contactless cards is on merchants and acquirers, since the acceptance infrastructure has to change. But for issuers, there's minor impact. If you issue EMV cards already, there are small changes to the data preparation process, but the rest is taken care of by the Card Production Bureau. Mobile payments, on the other hand, are more complex. Mobiles use a virtual card that's stored securely in the phone. Instead of sending card orders to a bureau, orders for mobile applications will be sent to a mobile provisioning service that will prepare applications for delivery over the air to the mobile phone. Card issuers will eventually find that to retain customers they will have to offer mobile payments. But in the mobile world, the relationships are different. The issuer's customers already own a range of mobile phones and are connected to many different mobile networks. A key difference is that the issuer of the payment application, unlike in the card world, no longer owns the token on which the application is installed. So the application supply chain in the mobile world is very different, and here's an illustration of what it looks like. Financial issuers should not be expected to form commercial relationships and technical interfaces with every mobile network in order to reach their customers. Nor should they have to acquire the complex systems that control the interaction with the networks. They should stick to what they do best, that is, developing innovative payment products and providing them to their customers. Mobile is a case where the investment required and the complexity introduced, unless you are a very large issuer, will likely never be justified, so service providers will supply these capabilities and these delivery channels. Mobile issuing has basically the same drivers as card issuing, with some additional opportunities. Multiple complementary applications can be delivered to the phone for a range of uses, but the always-on nature of the mobile channel means that targeted messages for advertising and incentives such as coupons can be delivered to the phone to drive more use of the payment method, thereby increasing transaction volumes and revenues. Issuers' priorities in the mobile world should therefore be to concentrate on making an appealing range of applications available to existing and new customers through an efficient ordering process, irrespective of the phones or the networks that their customers use. This is necessary to retain customers in the face of competition from the predatory forces out there in mobile land, such as the networks themselves and the likes of Google and Apple, who would like to corner the market in mobile payments, maybe even see the end of the card schemes and the breakdown of the conventional payments infrastructure as we know it. So let's sum up the messages that we hope have come across from this presentation. Firstly, treat EMV as an opportunity for innovation and differentiation. Secondly, If you look at EMV only as a compliance issue, the only thing that will increase are your costs. Thirdly, in a properly planned smart product strategy, EMV can generate profits from innovative products and new transaction streams. Fourthly, there are many smart people around who have been there and done EMV. It's important to get the right advice. Fifth point is to plan, and plan again. And finally, use your plan to determine the triggers that will allow your solution strategy to evolve to meet your business goals. And last of all, a brief word about Aconite's core solutions. Smart EMV Manager is a plug-in solution for authorization, scripting and risk integration, and provides an immediate upgrade path to an existing magnetic stripe authorization system. Prepaid EMV Manager manages the cards and accounts of a prepaid product that is based on EMV, providing online and secure offline transactions. Athena Enterprise is Aconite's smart product lifecycle management system, where a smart product is any device with a chip in it, which could be a card, could be a wristband, wristwatch, key fob, or even TV or refrigerator. Athena Enterprise supports data preparation, key management, and post-issuance update. And finally, Mobile Application Manager is Aconite's solution for provisioning mobile applications over the air, handling both the data preparation and the security within the mobile phone. Thank you for viewing this Aconite online presentation. We hope that the information provided has been useful to you. If you wish to follow up any of the points made, then please get in touch with us at inquiries@aconite.net. Thank you and goodbye.